RadioZero.
It's Radio Zero with Rick and Rose. Was that really loud? 11:22:24 5 p.m. our time. Central. Was it daylight savings time or is it Central Standard Time?
I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Watch live video. Okay. There, now
I lost my show notes here. We're live streaming on Facebook on the Radio Zero page and on the Poster Children page, on Twitch at PCJC USA, and on the Poster Children YouTube channel, 5 p.m. every other Friday when conditions allow. You can also subscribe to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Go to radiozero.us, RSS feed. You can patronize us at patreon.com/radiozero. Thanks to all our patrons for helping out with the show. Also, November 22nd, 61st anniversary of the Kennedy assassination.
Oh, that's nice. I knew that was a special day.
It is a special occasion.
Mm-hmm.
Who would have known that in 61 years, John F. Kennedy's nephew would be in politics, working his way into the upcoming administration? I guess that would have been expected. You'd tell someone, oh, the Kennedy dynasty is going to go on and on and on.
I keep talking about the movie A Boy and His Dog, which I don't want to see, but I remember the part. And who's the actor in that? Remember?
Don Johnson.
Don Johnson. Yeah. I think the dog is talking to him and asking him. It's like testing him on, right, he's got like the dog talks or something. I can't even remember that. These are not the parts of the movie that I remember. It's a post-apocalyptic movie, and I think he's going through his presidents. Go through your presidents, and he goes, and he's Kennedy. I mean, he says it multiple times, and I've always thought, okay, well, that's because, like, they changed the rules. So it was only Kennedy was the president, but it could mean that there were multiple Kennedys.
Yes.
Is that what it is?
I think
what it is?
that was the idea. It was a dynasty.
Yeah. Damn.
Finally, somebody back. Although not Attorney General. That would have been the irony of ironies. Although there's still time that RFK Jr. would be the Attorney General also.
And
there's time.
Matt Gaetz has pulled out just as of like last night. Is not going to. So what's going on now? Since we're saving these, we've been doing this podcast for how long? Like since 1998.
Since 1963, I think.
1998.
I think we started after the Kennedy assassination.
Okay. Since 1998, but the one that we did in 1998 is gone. So since 1999. Now I forgot what I was going to say, so now I can't even remember what I was going to say. Damn it! And so there's probably hundreds of episodes, right? So this in this episode we're responding to the Trump's cabinet picks. Now, so what's happening now is that this is the second Trump pregnancy, and second time that Trump is impregnating our country.
And you're explaining this for future people, future generations. Yeah,
against our will. And so he's picking people. It's like he's picking people. Well, first I thought he was picking people to troll, our country, but he's just picking those who he thinks would do the best job at this, and he only knows the people that he sees on television, right? Because he's like a toddler. So he picks Matt Gaetz, Florida man, to run. What I'm sorry, I'm still on drugs. I think from my operation. Can you? Anyway, the cabinet picks are all like the people who would destroy the part of the cabinet that they would be in charge of.
Disruptors.
Yeah.
Outsiders. Yeah. People who will smash the system.
Yeah, yeah. And we're not yet at the part where like there's over the last week there's like a increase in people Googling, can I change my vote? Like a huge increase in that. But we're not yet at the point where they're trotting people out on NPR who said, oh, I voted for Trump, but I shouldn't have. Like they're not doing that yet. Nobody's sad yet that they voted for Trump.
And again, if NPR finds one person to say that, wow, great. What does that mean? Does that mean that that's everybody, or is it just that they found? I mean,
That's
I bet after every election,
yeah,
you could find at least one knucklehead saying they wanted to take back their vote. So, I question whether or not a large segment of the population would have regrets about their choice, because that would involve all of a sudden sort of an epiphany and a complete reversal of their worldview, and then also some sudden in-depth knowledge about cause and effect and long-term impact on decisions you've made.
Well, I think there are a lot of people who did what did they call it, a bullet vote or something, where there's like a huge percentage of people who just came in and just voted for Trump and didn't vote anything else. Right?
I don't know.
Yeah, I read that somewhere too. Like, so that's, and those are like, so we were talking to a friend who was helping with the election here, and the last, you can register and vote at the same time in Illinois. So on voting day, on election day, like there's just this huge influx of like frat guys, our friend said, like who came in and registered to vote and all marked Republican on their vote thing, and then just went and just voted for Trump. So
yeah.
So that I thought that was really interesting. I mean, I kind of liked hearing that, I like to know where this all came from. That's all. I'd just like to know where, and all the people who we thought would be offended that Trump was being racist at them were not offended. They were perfectly fine with it. That wasn't a problem for them, right?
I guess. I mean, you could say, but that's just a small segment of those groups that people are cherry picking to look at and saying, oh, good thing, but what the other reality was is that 15 million previous like Biden voters, right? People who voted for Biden didn't vote this cycle
because they were mad about Gaza.
And then again, saying they were mad about Gaza is like, again, it's
why
again
did they
taking a very specific thing and saying again that people are.
Well, people were hurting, Rick. People are hurting. The price of bread was very expensive, bread and eggs, and so that's why people didn't vote. Right? Why don't you talk about what you think happened? Because you're good at that.
What I think happened, I think the people who voted, and they voted, superficially. A large portion of them voted superficially for the white male disruptor, outsider candidate, even though, oddly, a quote billionaire who had been president before, So
they voted against the incumbent because of the price of eggs.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Well, all right. So we're done talking politics.
We're not. We don't have to be done. I don't enjoy talking about these very specific.
I saw you turn off the radio like the other day. You were like, "No, I don't want to hear this." What do you enjoy talking about?
What do I enjoy talking about?
Yes.
See, this is one of the. You see, I'm realizing you pepper me with these questions, these challenging questions, and it's like, what do you enjoy talking about? It's like, what the hell? Like I need to. Yeah. I mean, we can talk about politics. It's fine.
Okay, all right, let's do that.
If you don't like my answer.
No, I like your answer. I can't see, but there's nothing to see.
You had Rose had a procedure yesterday. You want to talk about that?
I had a procedure to check out to see if I had more cancer.
Is that what it was?
Yeah,
It was
oh,
a
yeah.
colonoscopy.
Yeah. So this is a repeat because I had
So that's and that is
findings.
what colonoscopies.
Yeah.
They're always looking for cancer. It's,
Yes.
but
Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
related to your breast cancer. The colonoscopy, it was because that's okay.
Yeah, so I'm not technically under the influence of anesthesia anymore. So that's
My
good.
milk, doctor,
Yeah.
I need my milk. Propofol.
All I know is that to prepare for that you can't eat what you like to eat for like a week. Basically, you can't take. I couldn't take my vitamins, which have been prescribed to me, and I think are actually useful. And I couldn't eat like anything. I had to eat like white bread for like 3 days or something, and then the last day you can't eat anything. And then you get put to sleep, and then you wake up. And then the doctor tells you still can't eat anything. It sucks. I'm still kind of foggy. So.
Yeah.
But sounds like everything went okay. Now they told me I don't have to come back at 3 years. Now it's 5 years, so that's nice.
Yeah. You gotta.
Yeah. And you were there the whole time. You sat with me. That was so nice of you. Thank you.
And that's not 100% true. You just remember me being there the whole time. Is like they took you away.
Yeah.
They doped you up and took you, or no, they took you away, doped you up,
Yeah.
and then you were unconscious for a good half hour, 40 minutes, and then they brought you back, and then you slowly worked your way out of the propofol days.
Yeah, I don't remember. Like I used to be really afraid of. Well, I still am really afraid of anesthesia. I don't like it. I think it takes me a while to come out of it or something. Just because I'm not like I don't do any kind of drugs or drinking or anything. So I don't like the in between states.
But I think it's just your metabolism or whatever. It takes you a little while, a little more time to get out. But you're not. Because they were saying, it's like 5 minutes later you'll be coherent after we stop the propofol or whatever, and it always takes you. I remember this too from previous things. It takes you a little longer to get back from that, so it does have a stronger effect.
Yeah, I don't like. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm scared of it. So, but I wanted to know. Like I was like, tell me when it's going to happen. That's what I told the nurse. And then there was like another when I had the 2 different breast cancer operations, they did it different. The second one, they did a different anesthesia. I guess they couldn't do the same one as the first one. So, and I seem to remember them going, "You want a little cocktail to put you at ease before?" And I was like, "No cocktail. No, I don't do cocktails." And they asked me that the first time too, and they were like, "All right," And then when I got into the operating room, it was great. I was talking to all the nurses and stuff, and it was really fun. You get to see all the operating room stuff and everything like that. That was really neat. But the second time, I remember them going, "You want a little cocktail?" I was like, "No cocktail." And then I think they gave me something anyway, because I was like, "Remember, you were sitting there," and I was like, "I feel like they gave me something." And you were like, "I don't know." And I think I asked the doctor, would they do that? Like, would they just, well, she doesn't know what she's talking about. We should give her something to calm her down.
Well, it's just a secondary thing, but they gave you maybe they something to anti-anxiety stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like that. It makes me anxious. All that stuff, like sleeping pills, it actually, for people who have ADHD, and I don't know if I can't stand people who self-diagnose themselves with ADHD, but it does the opposite to you, right? Any of these like sleeping pills kind of work the opposite on you. And they have always, like anytime I've ever had an operation and somebody's given me a sleeping pill or something, I've like been doing laps around the hospital, I remember. All right. Well, we're done talking about that. I mean, unless you have more to say about it.
Well, if you say we're done, we're done.
I feel like, I feel like I could have laid in bed all day today too, like instead of going to work, but I felt really proud to go to work. And like when the whole time I was going through the breast cancer stuff, it was really nice to go to work. It was like it took my mind off of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, I'll probably just always do that. I'll probably, there's, you're just, every time you see a student, it's like, oh, I'm helping that person, It's like you don't focus on yourself. You focus on all the other people and how you need to yell at them. So, all right. And now I have to. And so now, like, I just ate a Dorito, and if that, like, the nurse called me earlier to check on me, like, what? That's why I had to run out of the room where we were doing the crits and stuff, and I couldn't remember. Like, I should have asked her, like, can I eat a Dorito? Like, that's what I was like. Oh crap! I asked yesterday if I could eat a Pop-Tart, and they said yes. Remember?
Yeah, well, like desserts that don't have nuts, that was on the list, and so that's a Pop-Tart, right?
Yeah, but I couldn't eat a Pop-Tart before because it was cherry, and cherries have, like, I couldn't eat cherry. Well, I couldn't eat cherry because you can't eat anything red before that. So,
yeah.
All right.
But, like, you can't eat cherry pits. You shouldn't be, like, swallowing whole cherry pits. But that's not in Pop-Tarts.
Right. That's why I didn't understand at all. And you could eat jelly.
No.
Right? So I was eating jelly. Yeah. So I didn't understand why I couldn't eat a Pop-Tart. But the internet...
And that was on the list?
The internet said you can't eat a cherry Pop-Tart. Yeah. Where else am I going to find information?
The internet told you corn was okay also, right?
No, the internet did not say that. Myself told me corn was okay. Hopefully I can still eat corn now. But,
well, the doctor said when you were asking, it's like if you chew it a lot. Actually, he didn't say corn. Yeah, he did say corn.
He said,
you asked about corn, garbanzo beans. Okay. And he's just like, well, if you chew it a lot...
Yeah. All right. So what media have we consumed this over the past 2 weeks? Oh, actually, I can talk about, now I won't be able to remember, but I can talk. I saw the towers. What does she call it? Oh my God, I have to look
Library of Babel.
Yeah. People like us. So Vicki Bennett. I saw Vicki Bennett speak, and she is a person who is on a friend of ours label, Illegal Art, right? She's a sound and video artist. She does all kinds of stuff, and I got to actually see her talk at U of I, and she was amazing. And I got to see, what did you call it? Library of Babel?
Isn't that it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I got to see this. So, and I really enjoyed it because it had. Yeah, it's it's a collage. It's a video collage piece, right? But also she does a show on WFMU. So my advisor, Kevin, let's call him Kevin, who still is teaching me, and I'm still so happy that he teaches me. He had her come and talk, and he's just sent me the podcast that she does. She does a podcast with this other guy on WFMU. Have you ever listened to it?
I don't think so.
Yeah, we're going to have to start listening to that because she's done that forever too, and that's why he loves her. I think that's one of the things he loves about her. But the Library of Babel was really cool because it was all like stuff that was stitched together from the Internet Archive, from the Prelinger. How do you say that, Prelinger?
I say Prelinger, but I don't know if that's right.
Yeah. She had stitched stuff together, and she had like made little notes and stuff. She had her process of all of her notes like all stitched together too, like on this like big paper scarf that she had made. It was just stunning, and like a lot of stuff to do with, like, she's a meditator too, so she talked about that. So she, like kind of inspired by Buddhist meditation and stuff. So I got to tell her that, like, in this film, you're going through doors, like there's this door opening, and then she's kind of looped that together because she's a video artist, right? So you go through a bunch of doors, and I said to her, like, that's kind of like meditation, and she's like, I'm a meditator, I'm glad you got that out of that. But then I remembered that, like, I was at this Buddhist retreat at like a building next to where I was watching this. This was at Spurlock Museum in Urbana, right? And I was at the Levis Center, I think, for like a Tibetan Buddhist Dzogchen retreat. And this guy, like, he was taking questions, this guy, the monk, the Rinpoche was taking questions. And one of the questions, this guy, like people were like, well, what do you do when this happens? And he was, well, this is blah, blah, blah. And then this one guy, like this kind of guy who, you're like, oh my God, this guy's crazy. What the hell is this guy talking about? And he was talking about, something about doors. And the thing that he said, like, made me think like, oh, they're going to throw him out of here. And the Rinpoche said, oh, you and I are going to have to talk alone later. Well, you'll come and talk to me later about that. And I was like, ooh. So I got to tell her that story. But the really cool thing, okay, I got to say this. The really cool thing was that everybody was treating my friend, mine and your friend, Matthew, like a god, because he runs this label and he's like the curator of this. And I was just so like absolutely proud to be there, to see people are like, and Vicki Bennett was like, said she's texting her friends going, I'm getting to meet Philo, and I was like, that's my friend, and she's like, people are jealous. And I'm like, this is so cool, and Matthew had brought like some students with him and had told them they're going to be, calling me Philo here, so just go with it. The students were like, what? It was so cool because he's such a humble, just absolutely lovely guy, and like people should be worshiping him here, people should be just like bowing down to him, but he's just too humble. Like there's a problem with some people being too humble and then not getting the accolades that they, and then other people not being humble enough, not being humble at all. And that's not a problem. Like, people walking around who think the world of themselves, and that's okay too. But, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm thinking about all the different like characters in our lives, and I love them all. The characters that I don't love are the ones that like attack other people. That's all. Are you even paying attention to what I'm talking about? Are you watching the Library of Babel?
I was doing a little bit of research there.
What were you researching?
Just checking on all the stuff you were talking about.
Yeah. I wasn't told that I was going to be fact checked. So this is all brought about because some fucking guy critiqued the banana art. Now I have to like this is what I follow allergic. I follow it, and by follow I mean I delete it when it comes in my inbox. Like I look at the first word, and if it's not a word that I care about, then I don't read the second word. I just delete it because I have. Let's see, what do you have? Inbox 0?
Not right now, but
okay. I have inbox 4,201, and that's in the email. That's my junk email that I don't always read. I have inbox 27,336 in my work email. So hyperallergic, I don't have time for it. But
do you want to explain what that is?
It's it's like a art blog. It's an art blog.
Art blog
that I've been following since grad school, right? We were told to follow that in grad school.
The early 2000s.
Remember that? I think my Tickets to the Sunset was written up in this. Anyway, opinion. The banana that made me sick to my stomach. Maurizio Catalan, who I have not been following art, so I don't know, swims in the same swamp as those he pretends to parody. And there's a picture of like a banana duct taped to the wall, and that's his. It's a piece of art called Comedian from 2019. So the banana is taped in a certain fashion, like it's got to be taped this certain way. It's the banana that I'm looking at is almost black. It's mostly black spots, and the duct tape is silver, and it's like an X kind of. It's a nice looking banana. It's the kind of banana that I would be using for banana bread at this point, right? And this is, so I guess the banana gets changed out every couple of days. And, the piece of art, there's a story about the piece of artwork from like last year where this Korean art student ate it, right? Ate the banana, like walked into the museum in South Korea that was displaying it and ate the banana. And the guards said, excuse me. And that's it. They didn't do anything. No alarm went off or anything. And like this art student, I think he's an art student, went, closer to other artworks and alarms went off, but this one didn't have an alarm that went off. So he ate the banana and, he told the artist about it. The artist had no problem with it whatsoever. So, and that was last year. So this year, this is, I'm not going to say the critic's name because I'm mad at him, but he's just like, this is stupid. And last night, November 20th, Maurizio Catalan's Comedian 2019, a work that consists of a banana duct taped to a wall, sold for $6.2 million at a Sotheby's auction. This is wrong.
Right. There's a certificate of, right. There's a certificate of authenticity.
Probably, yeah.
No, there is.
Yeah.
And instructions on how to mount it to the wall. And so there's a historical precedent for, this type of artwork, right? It's not just simply that's the banana, but it's the sort of
instructions for how to put the banana up, just like Saul LeWitt. And it's a banana, it looks bad after a while because then that's like the urinal.
And then you can replace it.
Yeah, and you're supposed to replace it every couple of days, which I was like, oh, that's interesting. I thought maybe the banana would disintegrate and that's part of the art, but this is that you replace it. So think about what that calls into question. And let's exercise our art critique skills now, since we haven't gotten to in a long time, right? So the banana gets replaced, so that talks about having to find a banana and the whole supply chain of bananas, right? And the banana is something that was living, and
it's called comedian.
Degrade. Yeah, I don't know why it's called comedian.
Well, bananas, right? So like comedy, slipping on a banana.
Oh,
right?
Okay, all right, yeah. So anyway, I'll continue reading. It's beyond wrong. It's obscene and immoral. It's the ugliest display of excess I've seen in a long time. I wonder if this is part of and I was like, is this part of the artwork? This is what I read this morning under the influence of Michael Jackson's Milk. With my, anyway, and I...
Doctor, I need my milk. That's my Michael Jackson impression. It's the only one I do.
No, right. I'm going to continue. I'm not naive. As an editor in an art publication, I recognize the power of spectacle, and I've covered several gimmicky, record-shattering auction sales. But that didn't stop my blood from boiling as I watched the bidding climb rapidly to about 6 times the original estimate. I wasn't expecting it, but I felt sick to my stomach. Well, you know what? I've been shitting water, art critic, whose name I'm not going to mention, for the last 2 days, so I don't care if you felt sick to your stomach. Anyway, the billionaire who bought the banana, crypto investor Justin Sun, may have also felt something in his stomach as he threw out bid after bid. Maybe it was the distant echo of a starving child's growling stomach. Fuck you. When it first appeared on the walls in Art Basel, Miami Beach, 2019, quote, Comedian was hailed as a brilliant critique of the art market's grotesque detachment from any economic rhyme or reason, let alone artistic merit. Also, fuck you. But I don't think Catalan's, quote, prank was ever in good faith. The Italian artist swims in the same swamp as those he pretends to parody. Fuck this guy.
Well,
the murkier the waters, the more they thrive. Okay, go on.
Yeah, I think it's true. But, isn't that the point? I think that's the point, right?
Why is it a swamp?
Well, you could argue that the, obscene prices for conceptual artwork, right? But then if you tie that to, something like Bitcoin, so you've got a crypto billionaire, but then also you just tie that to... And so the thing is that that's just money. That's just markets, right? And so just money and finance and investing in artwork as a financial instrument as opposed to what it's supposed to be. But you could say, oh, that's the history of art, right? Or commercialization of art. And so it's all part of the argument,
the quote,
I think.
Swamp. Why do you call it a swamp then? I call it art.
It is a swamp. I would argue it's if you but that's kind of like saying, it's like being a systemic racist or
Yes.
being a capitalist. You're in the swamp too. It's like, it's.
Well, okay, this is a swamp because it's not a
it's kinda
Renoir.
like
It's not
saying-
not a Western European.
Well, you're in the southern corner of the swamp, which is it's kind of like pointing, like the swamp calling the swamp dweller pointing out the other.
Oh no,
swamp
I don't
dweller.
think. No, I don't think. I think he's saying that like the artwork that you see, like in the normal areas of the, like I think he's saying that anything except conceptual art is not the swamp. He's saying that the conceptual art is a swamp. I'm gonna read the last paragraph. It's only fitting that the mundane banana was bought by a crypto bro. Wait, did I read this already? Yeah, by a crypto bro who also conjured his fortune out of thin air. But the second the work became a personal investment asset, it lost any shred of irony it might have once possessed. And fuck you. Comedian has become worth more than the artworks whose market Catalan pretended to lampoon by taping up the fruit at an art fair. The snake has eaten its tail. The mask has become the face. The jester has become the king.
So this is the thing too, though, is like Catalan's not making that 5 unless there's something about the sale. So this is where you go into where you go into like blockchain stuff and everything like that. Whereas like
I hope it is.
Yeah, if he gets a percentage of every resale, right, and so that is something that's been happening. But if Catalan, is that his name?
I guess, yeah.
Only got the 120,000, from the initial sale, and then this resale value. That's.
Oh yeah, who got the money? That's what. Yeah, who got the money? Does it even say? Like
whoever. So there were only three.
There's
There were
600.
3 editions of this sold at Art Basel, whenever it was, 5 years ago, for $120,000 each. So, and unless, the artist gets a percentage on resale every time the artwork resells, then he's not getting that money, right? It's just going through this. You can argue it's a corrupt system, but I would argue that anything that has value beyond its intrinsic, worth, I don't know what the, you could say that about gold, you could say that about Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
Say that about diamonds,
Yeah.
right? Right. It's so, and then the greater argument is as well, so the thing is it, when I heard about that artwork, 5 years ago, it was just like, this feels old. This was radical, 40 years earlier, but now I think the point would be is that, maybe it's true. It's not a parody. It's not a critique because the spectacle has already absorbed
Yeah,
that conceptual art critique, right? So it's kind of like a retro. It felt like a retro conceptual art protest kind of piece, and so maybe this guy is actually right, where it's kind of like, oh yeah, this is somebody just cashing in, or it's just part of the same problem. But
I don't see how taking a fucking photograph of something else, and I don't care, of a building or something. That's new art. But taping a banana to a wall, oh no, we've already done that. I don't understand. That's just another ready-made. I don't get that at all.
Yeah. And that's what it feels a little. Yeah, feels a little old to me. Ready-made.
The critique of ready-made or ready-made?
No. Oh yeah, both. It's just kind of like, okay,
all
yeah.
Right, what doesn't feel old to you then? What I don't understand. That's
yeah. I think that's the problem, right? Is there's no
new art anymore, man. Everything's already been written. I don't
know. Or it's just what's so value. This argument about what's new and then what's valuable, and then all of those are, I don't know. I don't think you can say that. I don't know. Yeah, I guess nothing's new. I guess everything's been disrupted because of this digital, but I don't think that's true. I think everything is conceptual, right, and cultural, and Even things that are considered new a lot of times aren't. I don't know.
I don't see how like the taping of a banana with duct tape and the to a wall in a art museum, and then the there being an official document about how to do that. I don't see why that is a problem or why that's old when every other art exhibition has got either a painting or like a
I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying this method of critique and this and that it's kind of like how it's changed where it's like like parody, right? Or it's like commentary, or it's absurdity to criticize the system, right? And that's a method, right? And I feel like that has been done, and its effectiveness it's already been absorbed back into the system, and now it's just.
I need to find out if the guy was critiquing. Then I guess he's I guess he's a system critic, the artist, like, because he's got other stuff like a golden toilet and stuff. I mean, I have to look more about it to see what other art the guy did. So I guess now I have to go back to art school. So like, I guess if he's doing this to critique, I guess if he's actually doing this to critique the art system or the commercial art system, Again, I don't see a problem. I don't see a problem with it. Where that's any different than, look, I made a bunch of photographs. These are new photographs, or look, I made, and I'm talking about photographs.
So having a problem with it and all that also feels old, and it's just kind of like, it's like, oh, that's not art. My kid could do it. It just feels like that same, like, it's just like so, like. What you would hear 40 years ago about abstract expressionism,
right,
or 50
exactly.
years ago, or pop art. It's like that's not art. And it's just like, okay, we've been through this, and now let's find some other new way of, And is it do you critique the system by exposing its absurdity, right, and obscenity? Right, the obscenity of spending, $6 million, which is true. It is obscene,
beautiful,
and there are other evidence. There's obscenity all throughout capitalism, right? And so I guess the thing here is that people, think of art as they want art to be something else, where they don't want it to be a commodity, and they don't want it to be, people spending obscene money on this representation of wealth or value, right?
Okay, and they want it to be something that only certain people can do, right? So like they, only you have to be very, very skilled in the painting. Not like my kid couldn't do this Renoir.
But that's the thing, is like I could not have duct taped a banana to a wall in a gallery in a certificate and sold it for $120,000, right? In an edition of 3.
Yeah,
and so,
exactly.
So there is that's also that value of that artist, right?
Yes.
So that artist's value. And so exposing that, or I don't know. I mean, it's the same. I listened to an interesting sort of documentary on Banksy, and like Banksy's like, Banksy. It's like talking about Andy Warhol, but it's the same. Like what Banksy does is like. And Banksy is starting, he has that organization, the authentication is like, you can't sell, or they won't authenticate a Banksy, right? So like if you pull the whole wall with a Banksy on it, right, and you take that wall, right, and then you can't sell that as an authentic Banksy, right? It won't be authenticated. And so I guess there are ways where you can, so maybe that's a little more advanced, where it's like, you just completely remove, from that, or and that was the idea of the shredder artwork, right? But it unfortunately,
your shredder.
No, the Banksy shredder artwork.
Yeah.
And it was like, it was supposed to, that was the whole thing, is the control, whereas like when it's sold, it was supposed to destroy itself, and then unfortunately it jammed, and so it made it this kind of valuable thing, right?
Yeah.
And so it's even that, right? So that form of critique or way of subverting the market.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
So
art marketplace and the obscenity of it, that breaks too, right? Which is that same thing. It's like, oh, the spectacle figures out how to absorb any type of protest, right? It's like it at some point it just takes it in and makes it part of the system.
okay, so you said something brilliant. I love what you said, that I couldn't duct tape a banana to an art museum in Miami and do it, get it into the museum and get them to buy an authenticated certificate. I couldn't do that. You're right, you can't, because you're not part of that system. So you know what, the system is part of the paints that this artist is using. You're like, some artists work in paint. It's part of the medium that the artist is using.
Yeah, and to me, what you're saying is like, yeah, duh, and it's like, ugh. I've heard all that before, and it's like, and so that's where I start going, as opposed to this, oh, that's not art, and this is obscenity. It's like all of those responses as part of this, and then the argument of, oh no, it's the artist's role, and this is the way it's all been commodified, and it's like, yeah, I've heard that all before, and we've, there's been decades of artwork that's been calling all this into question, and so then now it's kind of like, oh, so if you start selling paintings of soup cans now, it's like, well, yeah, that's just bullshit, right? It's not, it's old, it's worn. You're not really doing anything sort of new, I guess.
So you're saying this is like selling a picture, like a soup can, just because it's a banana, and we had the
yeah, like, so when I was
banana.
When I was in grade school, like, one of the girls in school had a soup can purse, right? So that would have been like what, 1972, 1973, and so even by then, right? And before that, it had already gone through the system, and then it was like, oh, this is.
So, like, if it was an orange, would that have been like better?
No, it would be different, but I feel like this type of artwork and this type of controversy is worn, tired. It doesn't actually. It's been done, and the idea that somebody could get away with it again, it feels like, or that this art, yeah, I'm starting to feel like, oh yeah, this is just kind of like somebody playing, Beatles covers, right, and making millions of dollars, like the best Beatles cover band ever, and they're making millions of dollars on Beatles cover. It feels like that, where it's like, oh, you're not really actually, you're kind of rehashing, or yeah. So for me, it feels that's what pissed me off about the artwork 5 years ago. Is just like, really, we're still doing this, and we're gonna have to frickin' listen to this argument. Whereas I thought that was the thing. Is like, so that's why the CryptoPunks were interesting.
Yeah, I wanted you to talk about this.
And 10 years ago was because, okay, here's where we start talking about value of artwork when it what then turned into NFTs, where it's like, oh, this has no physical. You're just buying the certificate, and the certificate now isn't even, Saul LeWitt's instructions. It's a block on the blockchain, right? And it's like, and you own this image, but anyone can take it, and what you actually own is just the. You sort of have dibs on this thing, or that you have the certificate. And that, to me, that was new. That felt new. It was like, okay, now we're going to talk about this, and then it did, and that moved through the digestive system of our culture into, what was it, what year was it, 2022, where then NFTs were all, the thing, and it's like, okay, it went from being an art project that kind of explored and critiqued this new, this digital idea of ownership, right? And art.
So you liked it because it was a blockchain thing.
I liked it because it was that next step where you were talking about art and ownership and Yeah, and it was totally, it was even more abstracted, right? So with the banana taped to the wall and the
Yeah.
instructions,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
There's
yeah,
still
yeah.
a physical aspect of
Yeah.
it. Whereas you go to NFTs, and before they were called NFTs, you go to something like CryptoPunks, and it's like, okay, there's nothing there. It's all digital, sort of transactional, or certificates, right? And it's like, okay, that's the next step. And it only took 5 years for that to move from art critique, right, or whatever you want to call it, right, to a commodity
To the
and
shitting
part
to the shitting
Yeah.
of water.
Yeah, and so we already went through that, and so it's like, okay, I guess what's next after that? And I don't feel like
Well-
a banana taped to the wall. I guess a banana taped to the wall being sold to somebody who's got money from Bitcoin, but to me Bitcoin. The whole thing is that, again, all this argument about Bitcoin's not real, and
Right,
it's
right,
like,
right.
no fucking money is real.
Yeah, I know.
It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
why
yeah,
is
yeah,
no
yeah,
one
yeah.
going to
Yeah.
that point? I guess we are.
No, that
We're
is
gonna
so.
be
That's somebody
living
was right.
in this
Some-
conceptual.
So
We're getting more and more into a conceptual economy.
Yeah.
Right. So everything's vaporware.
So why
now
don't you
and
explain?
speculation.
Hey, chat RICK. Why don't you explain to me, like I'm a sixth grader? Let's do fifth grader. What Bitcoin is? Because
I don't want to talk about what Bitcoin is. Bitcoin is.
I had that question. I'm having to explain. Breaking news. What happened?
It's just money,
Oh, Scott Bessant.
right?
Yeah.
So it's a
So it's
symbol
not-
of
Bitcoin
wealth.
is not real. It's not real money like
But the
my
US,
money.
U.S. dollar is not real either. And then and it's like there's
Yeah.
no.
But I have a dollar is a green piece of paper.
But it's not even a green piece of paper that represents, like gold, right? That's been gone for 50 years. It's a conceptual commodity too, right?
What I explained
Our whole
to somebody-
economy is
Yeah,
conceptual.
yeah.
It's not based in and so now we've got conceptual. I guess it's just how everything's moved into this conceptual. So then the problem is well, how do you make art and how do you critique this new world now that everything's conceptual? Now that you have everything's like pro wrestling. It's like, yeah, I could do a pro wrestling parody. I could be Andy Kaufman and pretend to be a wrestler, but that's freaking pointless now because we now actually have like a president or an incoming president who is that, and they're not they're not parodying. They're actually that type of sort of conceptual.
Yeah, so we're post parody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And so that's to me, that's the problem I have with all of this. Is just kind of like, ugh, like we're going to talk about this again. It's like,
Well, what do you?
we're going to
what-
talk about how that color field painting is not real art, and it's like, yeah, I guess we can talk about it, but it's like, yeah, but this happened years ago when I was talking to our younger son about, looking at the Ellsworth Kelly, artwork, and he was just like, what the hell's this? And I started explaining, the history of all this and why it's important, and then I realized, I'm the old man explaining, there's the young person who's looking at this and going, this isn't art, and I'm the old man saying, that's art. It's just now I'm, talking about, abstract art or conceptual art, and as opposed to 50 or 100 years ago where it's like talking about how I'm the old man saying that like a Leonardo da Vinci, like the Mona Lisa is art, and this Jackson Pollock or this this Van Gogh is not art, right? It's like it's that same argument. It's just, this is the old man talking. And so that's what I feel about all this conceptual shit. And it's just like, it's like we've got to move on. And, talking about this stuff, I don't know. And giving it value, I guess, is to me ridiculous. It's just kind of like, we're still doing this.
It's systemic. We're still people are still painting. People are still making prints. People are still, People are still doing all those other traditional art, and that's not a problem at all, right?
Yeah,
Like,
and so this
people
is just, I just need, and so it's just the same thing. It's, okay, this is the like end point where it's like, oh, conceptual art. Oh, yeah, and so somebody's going to spend $5 million on a banana taped to a wall, and it's kind of the end point. It's just like, oh, how somebody spent $5 million on a Warhol silkscreen, and I'm like, okay, it's becoming historical. Yeah, maybe that's it. But I feel like this argument is like all the things that come up. It's just like, ugh. Like what? And maybe that's the commodification that's going on. It's like, oh, everyone's playing their role. It is actually the way I feel about like protest now and everything, where it's just kind of like, oh, you're doing these older sort of methods of protest and representation, but it's being used. So that guy writing that blog article about how, oh, this is shit and everything like that, all he's doing the same thing.
He's part of it. That's what I thought. I thought he was part of the artwork. And
he is, even if he doesn't know he is.
Yeah, I know.
And so that's
because
the contemporary
I'm
thing.
the one who, now I found out about it because he's there. I just want to say, at our school, Illinois State University, we have printmaking, we have painting, probably, right? We have photography, right?
Yeah.
What other things do we have? Sculpture. We have glass. We do not have conceptual art. We don't have a discipline. We don't teach conceptual art, right?
That's true. I guess
that's
like
what
as
I'm
a specific
saying.
Like a studio.
Yeah.
But there are faculty and students who work in that realm a bit, I would say. So yeah,
I'll bet there's only one faculty member who does that, who works in that and just writes papers about it and stuff. Like, I think that's, and so for me, when I see, like another somebody made a conceptual art, and it got into got here and somebody bought it, that makes me really happy. Because I don't think that there's enough representation of that. It's like a genre of music,
a genre,
that we don't hear enough about. And I'd like to hear more about it because I feel like it's more of a critique about the system than a painting is, or a picture, a photograph.
And so then the question is so for me, it's like, oh, that critique and that engagement is nostalgia and retro. And it's like, oh, I just become obsessed with this Ultravox song from their second record, that's 50 years old.
Oh, that's so old.
Yeah. And it's like I'm listening to it and I'm like thinking about it, and it's like, yeah, why do I love listening to this even though I haven't, I had not heard it, I don't think, back then, or at least even 10 years, after it came out, and it was like, and it's because, oh, it's triggering all this nostalgia and everything like that, and it's like, oh, am I just listening to this? Is this, it's all tied up. And so it's like, oh yeah, the whole conceptual thing. It's like, oh great, this whole discussion, this argument. And it's like, oh, that's exactly the way I felt, 40 years ago when I first, saw and heard about conceptual art. And then, and it was like all the commentary and everything like that. And it's just this kind of, genre. And
so your thought of nostalgia, like, oh, this is nostalgia, this is why I like this, and that's nice, and so you can listen to Ultravox, or you can listen to Yaz, or whatever you want to listen to, and have a little like, or like Chicago or something, and have like a nostalgia. But I would say that your nostalgia that is the same as me looking at a banana taped on a wall in a museum getting sold for $6 million as conceptual art, and me being happy that like, oh, there's nostalgia. Conceptual art for me is a critique on stuff. It makes me think, and it makes me, just like nostalgia makes you think about something. This makes me think about, this makes me think about the entirety of a system. And I like that. I think that's cool, and I don't see anything wrong with it. And Cody has been writing a whole bunch of stuff here. So Cody gives the rock sign 36 minutes ago, then shitting water in quote marks, and then new song title, and then you're pissed off today. He writes, wow, lol. And then the CIA funded abstract art, that was 15 minutes ago. He's got Pollock here. What if you had actual soup cans with pictures of soup cans on them? Yes. And then he wrote, and then he wrote, mainstream U.S. culture doesn't give a fuck about art.
Yeah.
And on the other side, We've got Tim Bowers, who's written greetings from Arlington, Virginia. Oh my God,
Wow,
Tim.
the U.S.
And then he 4 minutes ago wrote, a banana duct taped to a wall is not art. And then we have to like these. And then he's written, speaking of overpriced stuff, want to hear from you about Bitcoin nearing $100,000. I own 0.00009 something of a Bitcoin, my friends.
My response, I was going to post this when you posted on Facebook about Bitcoin getting close to 100,000 is like, I was going to write, I'm going to party like it's 1929.
Oh, I lost my, yeah.
I mean, it does. I mean, I feel like, yeah. So, yeah.
You don't have any, that's because you don't have any Bitcoin. You have Ethereum.
Everything's a bubble. Everything's vaporware, right? All, like, how many companies are actually making money, right? Or all, based on speculation about how they will be profitable, right? So what you've got Amazon, Alphabet, they make money.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But
so
like
there's a futures market.
And I guess, wacky Elon's companies are starting to make money, right? But those were all sort of built on vaporware and speculation and venture. And so to me, it's like, oh, we're in this massive bubble. Is that sustainable? Are bubbles sustainable? Maybe it is. Maybe that's all it is that we're just going to be living in this bubble. And so, yeah.
This bubble is the same thing as art. People giving artificial value to something. So people give value to a Renoir or a Banksy. Let's not use Banksy, or like some photograph that somebody took. People give value to that, and people give value to these monetary systems like Bitcoin and stuff. It's the same thing.
The problem is that the physical world can pop this bubble, and so if somebody fucking blows off a nuclear weapon, right? And then you have a nuclear winter situation. All of a sudden, this question about a banana being taped to a wall being worth $5 million, a banana could be worth $5 million when you have a nuclear winter situation, a year with no summer, right? But it's through some sort of man-made event. And I'm not talking about climate change in this case. I'm talking about like a nuke, a couple nukes, even or one or two, right? And you've got your ash cloud, and all of a sudden, agriculture gets hit. Certain countries, are still able to maintain their agriculture. Others aren't, right? And they get hit, and then all of a sudden, all of these questions about is Bitcoin really worth that much? Is a banana taped to a wall really worth that much, right? That'll all go away because we'll be going back to this thing about, how are we going to feed 300 million people when all the farms are shut down for a year or two because of this ash cloud? Right? And so that's the kind of thing that I'm thinking about is this more kind of far out, I guess, is like, that this virtual bubble, right, will the physical world will
we're back to a boy and his dog.
Pop it. Yeah, and we're back to a boy and his dog, right? And so Bitcoin, though, maybe would be valuable because if sort of national economies and national currencies, like if the dollar, just crashes, right? Then Bitcoin, which is a decentralized financial system, right?
Yeah.
Would then still be valuable. But if, for instance, something happens and the power grid gets hugely impacted and you have, a much lower level of operation of any of this kind of digital infrastructure we have, and it's like you can't process Bitcoin transactions. You're going back to trading food, right?
Trading bananas
because the internet's down this month, right? Because of the ash cloud or something like that, or just the hurricane, or Yeah.
Yeah, they were telling me they couldn't give me an IV. They gave me something else with a different name on it because of the hurricane disruption
A
of
saline
saline. Yeah,
drip, not saline drip. It was saline stent, not something like that.
lock.
Saline lock, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, because the largest sort of the main manufacturer of saline solution, right, got hit in the hurricane, and so there's been basically, yeah, they're saving saline IV solution for emergency cases, right? And so they're doing a saline lock instead, so you don't get your propofol through a saline drip
yeah.
because this manufacturer got decimated by the hurricane. What, a month or two ago? Yep. So that kind of stuff happening. So I think all of this, I think maybe the physical world, right?
And
you said a very disturbing thing and spun me off again, which was when you said, "Oh, I think Trump's COVID, the second Trump administration COVID is going to be nukes," and it was like, "Yep, that's it."
Yeah,
I think you're right. I think you're right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because I've also been listening. There's this podcast that the local NPR station has been producing in conjunction with a researcher here about, it's called 12,000 Bombs, and it's kind of going through the nuclear sort of arsenal and how, issues around nuclear weapons proliferation and just its existence, right, is it's still a huge thing, right? But nobody talks about, and nobody is kind of considering, except there are people doing research about it and thinking about it, but it's not like top of mind. And it's kind of like, wow, we're things are scary, and I don't think it's just because I've been listening to this podcast, but it's because you think about it, it's like, okay, who's got nukes, and you just start listing it. Is like obviously Russia, United States,
but
Israel.
Ukraine is now being allowed to fire ICBMs, right? So that's when I heard that, I was like, oh. Trump's new COVID is going to be nukes,
and that's the nuclear winter thing, where it's kind of like, oh, nuclear winter. When I thought of, when we were told about it in the 80s, I think it was always like, oh, that the idea is that, oh, it's that U.S. Russian, carpet bombing, destroying, a huge chunk of the planet, and then the Earth is going to be this, kind of crater with, and it's going to be very hard to survive on, but there's a much simpler and small, thing is again, what happened with Krakatoa, right? When Krakatoa erupted and then, shrouded the whole planet in ash for a year. It's just kind of like, oh yeah, you just have, one little area. That's what happens, when you set off a nuclear weapon is you've got the initial blast, but then the firestorm, right, around it. And having, just one or two firestorms, spewing ash into the air, and that's going to have an impact. It's going to have an impact.
And so hopefully Dr. Oz knows this, and whoever else is in charge. No, who's the TV show host that's going to be in charge of the Department of Defense? He's the next guy that's going to fall, though. They're saying Matt Gaetz,
the Fox guy, the guy who used to be on the Real World,
Peg
right?
Smith or whatever.
Oh no, okay, that's a different guy. The Sean Duffy guy is, what's he going to be? The Real World guy, I can't even remember. And then we've got Mrs. Wrestling running the Department of Education.
It really is like Idiocracy.
Yeah,
it's amazing. Like I was thinking about the brilliance of Mike Judge. Is that what's the guy's name? Mike Judge,
Mike
right?
Judge, yeah.
I was thinking about, I was going to rewatch Silicon Valley because I love it so much. I loved watching that so much. It made me so happy. I don't know why, but then just thinking about it, I went to find the picture of the cabinet, the president's cabinet in Idiocracy, just to make a joke, and it's already been done, Trump's cabinet and stuff like that. Maybe you think he's seen that movie?
Trump.
Yeah.
There's an amazing interview clip of Trump talking about Citizen Kane. And it's like, I don't know if he saw Citizen Kane or it's somebody just fed him like film school, 80s film school Citizen Kane analysis, but it's so weird.
Yeah, I remember hearing it.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
so weird.
It's him.
So there would be no way of knowing if he saw it or if he just, yeah.
I wouldn't think he would have spent
Or
his
someone
time
told
watching
him
that.
about
Yeah,
it, and
somebody
then
told him.
he'll
Yeah.
regurgitate what he
Yeah.
knows or understands about it. But it's I don't know where I was going to go. I had something else. Anyways, sorry, I went apocalyptic.
Well, I did a little bit too. I just think that if you're going to complain about a banana taped to a wall with a certificate of authenticity, I think that's like bashing. I think that's like saying, oh, hip hop's not real music.
Hip hop's not music.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
like,
we're doing it.
fucking
Oh, somebody put out another hip hop record. Oh, really? Oh, okay. All right, fine. Isn't that old? I mean, that's what I think.
Well,
it's like.
I feel that way. Yeah, it's just like ugh. And it's like a pop music form. It's not. Yeah. Anyways.
Okay.
That was what I was going to say. It's just that whole we talked about this before where it was the old men talking about Reagan and complaining and everything like that, and then I was just finally like it's like, but nobody cares. Like you can sit there and say I told you so. Everything that we said was going to happen happened, and I told you so, and that's why all this happened. And it's like nobody cares. Nobody fucking cares. And when you have I told you so, and so it's kind of like that's great. We've got Idiocracy and we've got that reference point, right? But now it's kind of like, well, okay, so it's happened, and now I can sit there and watch Idiocracy and go, yep,
Told you so.
told you so.
Boy
and
and his dog.
it's
Told
like,
you so.
yeah, told you so. But it's kind of like, well, what?
Yeah.
How does that help now?
Yes,
right?
yeah, I understand. So
what
what do
is
you do?
the new way of
How can you help?
injecting,
Right.
sort of, or creating epiphanies and creating change within this contemporary environment. So and again, it always goes back to things have just I think things have got to get worse for them to get better. It's like that's what there's like a mantra, and we would even say it, and it's like but we had COVID. Right, and things got worse, and then it's like, we hit bottom, but nope, we're back, and we bounce back into the same shitty kind of march to Armageddon, right? And so it's kind of like, what,
So
I don't think taping a banana to the wall is going to, revolutionize and change the world and create epiphanies.
Don't think that. Well, I don't think that that's the point of that art, but maybe it was, but for some people it might.
But if it's supposed to be a critique of a system, right?
Well,
then,
yeah,
and I guess it's just a critique of the art world. But it's like when what's his name said that 9/11 was the greatest work of art. Who was that? It was the German composer. Was it Stock? Was he still alive? And everybody was like, holy fucking shit. But it's that kind of endpoint where it's just kind of like, what's going to, art as change, right? And as a driver of change. And it's like, is that what's going to have to happen? Or is it?
Yeah.
Is it
I think it
hitting
can
rock
be.
bottom.
Yeah.
Things are so.
All
it's
of this
get,
stuff doesn't have to be one or the other. It can be all this stuff. But like, if this reaches one person, and one person goes, I see, somebody's critiquing the system. Somebody's exposed the system here with this duct tape, and this banana. Wow, this makes me think about the system. And all the other artworks made me just think about how I'm not good enough to make to paint like this. Somebody's good, but I'm not.
Yeah, and so I would say if Ukraine's a flaming crater, right, and then we're all, fighting over food because there's been no agriculture in the northern hemisphere, for a year. That's also going to create change, and it's going to reveal the flaws in our system, right, and the inequities. So
that'll be the new art, and you'll like it then.
I won't like it. I'll be very unhappy, and I'll be sitting there saying, "I told you so."
I think we should get some dirt and start farming in our house.
Yep.